Good afternoon and welcome to More Than Meets the Eye. I'm your host, Blind Prime, and for today, we're going to be talking about Megatronus's vehicle mode and comparing him to Siege Megatron's vehicle mode, Armada Megatron's vehicle mode, and vehicle mode for this guy, which I seem to constantly be forgetting the name of. Oh man, he's the tank with the hook that happened in Siege. I'm so sorry. You know what? He was a Transformer that wasn't in G1. He's a Transformer that came out after I stopped watching Transformers and stuff. I like him. I think he's cool. And he was in War for Cybertron Siege. But for some reason, I just can't remember his name. He used to be a Decepticon. And then he became an Autobot and the leader of the Wreckers. Yeah, he's cool. So we got all these guys to compare today. And we're going to be talking about, how this vehicle mode is. You know, is it a good vehicle mode? Is it not a good vehicle mode? And we'll be giving you a it's going to get a grade at the end of the episode, and then after that grade we'll actually do the final grade and tell you my final thoughts and feelings on Transformers Age of the Primes Megatronus. So without further ado, let's get into this Transformer. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and set you off to the side because I can't seem to ever remember your name. And we also have Warpath here because I was like, we'll compare him to a few smaller tanks. But first off, I'm going to remove Armada Megatron and set Armada over there because I want to talk about how Megatronus and Siege Megatron are very similar to one another. Yeah, I didn't notice this before because I haven't transformed Siege Megatron in a good long while. And I was, messing with Siege Megatron here. And his hips break very similarly, and the front treads act very similarly, where on Siege Megatron, they fold back onto his backpack. With Megatronus here, they fold back into this backpack, but then the tops of them, the ends flip down over his shoulders to give him a strong shoulder. And then this little piece that goes over the treads, this little area that allows soldiers to sit on and you can put stuff on and things like that, that spot folds out and becomes the backpack. But for Siege Megatron, that isn't that is the same piece as the tread area. Like, these are the same piece, so can't really fold up that piece and rotate it around and turn it into a backpack. But that was something I noticed. The front of each of these Transformers transforms very similarly. Excuse me. And then rotate them around. And the backs of both of these guys are very similar. Now, for my Megatron here, this foot is really loose for some reason. And, that's partly because whenever I first got him, I thought these feet folded inwards. And they would, if it wasn't for how long that little peg is there. But, I could have sworn they would have just folded inwards and connected to one another. But that's not what happened there. Anyway, so with AotP Megatronus here, the feet folded up into the back treads. And we can see that with Megatron here, if that top of the treads folded up and this foot could have folded in, it would have been very, very similar. It's like the engineers for Megatronus here took Siege Megatron and said, what if we upgraded him? We made his transformation a bit more complicated, and we gave him a bit more weight so that he ended up being a little bit taller. And that's the case, because when it comes to weight, there is a big difference. Okay, this Megatronus weighs a lot more than Siege Megatron. A lot more than Siege Megatron. And now let's compare them side by side. So we'll go by the back of the feet for Siege Megatron and the rear of the treads for Megatronus. And we get that Megatronus is actually longer than Siege Megatron. And by a decent amount too. By at least 2 fingers width. That's a decent amount. Turret-wise, Megatronus's turret has difficulty spinning, but it can rotate back and forth. You can do 360 degrees with it. And there we go. It's still really, really tight. It's tight. And then here is Siege Megatron. Siege Megatron can do the same thing, except his barrel's a bit longer. And it can't do, well, can it? Yeah, it can do 360. There we go. 360 spin on the cannon barrel for Siege Megatron. They are very, very similar to one another. The biggest difference is that Siege Megatron is an H tank, and Megatronus here is more of a traditional tank, but not a traditional tank. Like the front is traditional, and then the rear is kind of H-like. Like we could fold these panels up. You can fold each of these panels up, and there you go. Now you got kind of an H tank back area. I really wish I could figure out a way, something to do with these panels other than just letting them stay flopped down like that. I'm so used to having a connector piece. Like I tried it, all of his accessories, to see if anything would just plug in, because I'm so used to a weapon having the ability to just plug into a spot like that and hold it down tight. Great example being Warpath here with his shield that holds everything together. But we'll talk about Warpath in a second. So that is Megatronus versus Megatron. I do think that the Megatron is a decent mold, but the Megatronus definitely is the better tank. And even though I had some problems with its transformation, I still think the Megatronus is a better tank, and it was a more fun transformation than Siege Megatron. So that's there. All right, now let's bring out Armada Megatron, which, for Siege Megatron, I'd give his transformation a B. It's a decent transformation. But for Armada Megatron, I was actually very upset by his transformation and how simple it was. I was really hoping for more of a complicated transformation, and that's what I got with Megatronus, and I should be pretty happy with that. And I am pretty happy with the fact that Megatronus' transformation is complicated. I just, its fun factor's low, and there's nothing you can do about that. Some Transformers are just going to be more fun than others to transform, and that is just going to be on personal rather than anything else. So personally speaking, I don't have as much fun transforming Megatronus as I thought I would. But it's okay, because Megatronus here is a neat little tank. And here is Armada Megatron. Now, I wanted to compare a leader class to a leader class tank, because, I really thought about it, and I was like, I could bring out Blitzwing, but I hate Blitzwing's tank mode. So I just was like, no, it's going to stay in its Ziploc baggie, because I just do not like that figure. I really, really want a better Blitzwing. So let's compare these rear to rear, okay? And we get that the Armada Megatron is actually a bit longer. Now, are they about the same width? Because I think they are about the same width. We're about to find out. Can we stack tanks? Yeah, we can stack tanks. Look at that. They are the same width. That's pretty fun. And also, they are about the same weight. Like, they both are beefy boys. Beefy boys. Further talking about these, they rotate, the tank turret rotates pretty well for Armada Megatron. Well, not very well, because it's like gets locked up because of its own things. So it seems to be only be able to go from 9 o'clock. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. to 5. That's 9 to 5. That's the extent the barrel gets. There's this entire area that somebody could just walk up on Megatron when he's in tank mode, and he can't do anything about it. I just like, wow, what a weird flaw. So the tank turret wise, Megatronus definitely holds it above Megatron here, Armada Megatron. Megatronus also manages to hide the head better than Armada Megatron, and I know that's supposed to be something that Megatron can do, but I don't like visible heads. I've never liked visible heads. This one would have been okay if you could have, if these things could actually clasp down and grab a Minicon. But I mean, it would be even cooler if we ever got any Minicons for Armada toys. Come on, guys. You got Micromasters. Just retool them into Minicons. What's the holdup? What's the holdup? We want our Minicons. We promised to buy them. So that's about it for size comparisons with these guys. So we're going to set that off to the side. Over here, let's bring out Warpath, and we'll look at a few deluxe tanks, because the only Voyager tank I could find was Megatron. Deluxe tank-wise, Warpath is so small compared to this. Like, this is a big tank. I think this tank is 2 Warpaths long. That is how long this tank is. Height-wise, yeah, Warpath doesn't have anything on this tank's height. Like, Warpath is barely as tall as his treads. This does make the Fallen seem more of an intimidating, imposing thing whenever you have little bitty Warpath, pew, pew, and then you have big old, hi, do you like Warpath than Megatronus? Hmm? What's up? You just wanted to give me a headbutt, let me know that I wasn't giving you enough attention. Yeah. Okay. So you got little Warpath here, pew pew, and you got big old Megatronus, boom boom, and I mean, look, yeah, even a bit more weird. You could put Warpath's turret inside of Megatronus's turret. That is how big, how different they are in size. So let's set Warpath over here to the front. We can just go there. And then finally, we've got this guy, which I always forget the name of. And it sucks because he's also got a cool name. We can take that gun off. We don't need that visible right now. So this one, he goes all the way back to the end, and there we go. Yeah, he's longer than Warpath, and his tank mode is almost no. There's still a big difference between the size of the turrets on these, and then we bring them like weight wise. Oh, there's definitely Megatronus. There's no contest. Now finally, let's take a look at the barrels. You put your barrel inside your barrel. Yeah, I like doing that. I just think that's fun. So there's definitely a difference in these two tanks. So let's set this guy off to the side over here. There we go. Now let's get in depth and talk about this tank mode from back to front, from all over the sides, and give it final grade. So at the back end of the tank mode, we have these really neat little clasps and stuff that fold over for the tank armor. I really like the detail of that. That's what I'm going to start off with talking about first, is just the sheer amount of detail and sculpt work on this is, well, it makes me happy. It makes me very, very happy to have so much detail on this figure. It's just, it is so nice. We could actually fold that missile pod over, and we can keep that there. Yeah. All right, so back here we have these treads that we talked about. We've got some really nice textures on the side. Each one of the wheels for the tread is textured out, and each one of the individual treads is textured. And I love that. And that is a really, really good detail right there. Coming on there to the side of this little armor plating that goes all the way across. It was weird a little bit. It gets a little weird around where the thigh connects to everything, but I'll forgive that. It seems like they did try their best to keep the textures going, even though the thigh could have used a little more texture. And yeah, but that's a good. And it goes all the way across. We get some really nice tank treads going on here, even in the front area. And I like how we get these. I like the front area here. I really do like how that feels. I like these little vents going on there. There's so much about this tank mode that's just fun. I like the little ridges that run across the sides. It's just a fun tank mode. It is. The only negative I have is this stupid little spot here. So let's flip the upside, take a look at the underside of the tank. And we've got, it's not bad. You got this big hollow section back here, but for the most part, this is all very compact and concise. It's good. Like, they did manage to get a very well concealed tank mode here, and it does feel like the Fallen. Like this feels like something the Fallen would totally be utilizing, and something's there. It goes. Oh, yeah, stupid sword. We're actually going to take that sword off, and we're going to take off his other accessory so that we have a better time talking about this figure. So there's really a lot of fun little tank details in what I consider sci-fi details, because they're things that you would find on this thing that you wouldn't find on a regular military tank. Like the little blades up here at the top area that stick out the side of the vehicle mode. And they got little blades around the thigh area too. And when it comes down, yeah, it's all right. There's good. There's just a lot of good about this thing. I do enjoy this tank mode, and the more I have it, the more it grows on me. But there are some things about this tank mode that I question, but then I have to remind myself, that this is not an Earth tank. And that's important to remember. Just like with Megatron here from Siege, it's not an Earth tank. He's not an Earth tank. He is a sci-fi Cybertronian H tank. That's Megatron. He's got 4 treads because he's cool like that. Megatronus only has 2 treads because he doesn't need to show off to be a badass. He just is. And that is very important to remember. Like, this is a Cybertronian tank, and I like that they did something new. They did something different with the Cybertronian tank. I like the fact that there's these big gaps right here. I hope I didn't mistransform him, but we can spin that tread over to the side a little bit and reveal this gap. Now, if I mistransformed him, please let me know if there's a way to, that this gap can fill in. But at the same time, this is a cool gap because it gives more of a sci-fi feel to this. There's no place for a driver to sit in this tank. This is a complete robot tank, and I do like it. I like it a lot. I just think it's weird that we get this this really nice textured spot down here that feels like it could cover these gaps up here, but the textured spot that feels like it could cover the gaps is underneath it, and the gaps are above it. No matter how many times I tried to transform it, I couldn't put these pieces that are below it above it. I couldn't figure out how to do that. So let me know if I did that right in the comments below. I would love to hear from you on that end. Now, let's talk about this turret. Okay, the turret transformation style, I wish the turret wasn't as stiff to rotate around, and I wish that the little bar hinges that connect the turret to the rest of the transformer had a more solid connection into the transformer. Like, when you snap these guys down, I wanted them to be snapped down forever, and it'd take a little force to get them out. Instead, it doesn't take much force at all to untransform that turret, and that is a shame. That is definitely a negative, in my opinion, for this vehicle mode. But in the center core area, we've just got this lovely texture of armor plates. It's just, it feels like a weapon of war. It really does. And in this mode, we got 1, 2, let's see, 1, 2, and then there's some on the side, 3, 4, and then we have some up here. We've got 5 and 6, and I think we got 7 and 8 as well on the other side. Yeah, 7 and 8. And anything else? Oh yeah, there's 9 and 10 right there and right there. Wait, is that a siege port, or am I just confusing things? Let's see. Nope, siege port. Cool. I'm just gonna set the weapons up there. So we got 10 siege ports on this guy. 10. And for a vehicle mode, that's not bad. 10 is the average for the average that you get for robot modes. Or at least back in the Siege days, that was the average for robot modes, was 10 to 11. So I'll take that. When it comes to the Siege ports, the biggest negative on them is that there are none on the back. And I do think that's one of those missed opportunity moments, because we have these 2 flappies that sit on the outside of the leg and could totally have had each a Siege port. And that would have been nice, because then you could have taken one of those weapons that are 2 individual weapons attached together, which makes their siege ports really close together, and you could have put them across from each other, and that would have been an added little connection that bridged this gap here, that has these 2 flaps just barely touching, and that would have made this back end a lot sturdier. And that is kind of the thing about this, is this back end is not very sturdy. It constantly wants to fold in like it just did, and there's nothing keeping it from there's nothing keeping it steady other than gravity and these connections at the thigh. And I really wish there was a way that these connected back here so that everything could fit together. And I say that is the biggest negative on this guy. His weight is amazing. His plastic quality is great. I love the little missile pod sticking out the side of his turret. I like that he's got this other little bit that comes that he has kind of folded up behind the turret. It gives it a new texture and feel. It's a little bit rounded. And of course, this missile pod can always just be folded. Oop, I messed that up. I popped the missile pod off. There we go. Missile pod. There it goes. Missile pod. Come on, missile pod. There you go. Good missile pod. You can always fold the missile pod backwards and point the missiles to the sky. So now it's just an anti-aircraft missile pod. And, while he's driving around and stuff, and an aerial bot flies overhead, he can launch all those missiles and just take that aerial bot out. That's the thing about this guy. He feels like a transformer that could just take out other transformers very quickly. He is a beast. And when you remember in the story, he was the biggest fighter that could fight Unicron. Like, he was designed to fight Unicron by Primus. So he is a scary dude. He's a powerful dude. And I am happy to have him in my collection. I like this vehicle mode, even through its flaws. I'm going to give this vehicle mode a solid A. And I gave the transformation a B+, and I gave his robot mode, I'm pretty sure I gave the robot mode an A+, because I really liked that robot mode. So that gives this guy an A-, more like a solid A-, somewhere in there, like a 94. As his final grade, because he's just that much fun. He is a fun dude. He is a fun transformer. Do I think he's worth the cost? Without a doubt, I believe this guy is worth the asking point. He feels like it. I think he's more worth the asking point than Armada Megatron here, because Armada Megatron just had the crappiest transformation. And even though Megatronus' transformation is complicated, I will never call it crappy. I like it. I just don't find it that fun. That is the big difference there. So, if you are on the fence about picking up a Megatronus, I will let you know that I consider Megatronus a good buy. This is a great leader class transformer, and yeah, he isn't as tall as Grimlock, but it's okay. He's got more articulation than Grimlock, and then honestly, I think he's got a bit more style. This is a stylish dude. And before I let you go, let me go ahead and add his fires, because I think that just adds this tank, that just increases this tank mode. This tank mode goes from a solid A to an A+ when you add the fire. It just does. So we're going to put the fire on that one, and then we're going to come around here, and we're going to put the fire on his other side. And it just changes him. He just like, now he's just wild. And then we can put these little fires. No, that's not a fire. That's a gun. Yeah, here we go. We're just gonna put this explosion. Yeah, we got a regular explosion. We got from one of the Titan classes. There we are. Boom! Explosions. It's a lot of fun. I like him. I like him a lot, and I think he's an excellent addition to my collection. Well, I have blathered on long enough about Megatronus today. I hope that you've enjoyed today's show. Please go below, like, share, and subscribe. Comment, let me know what is your favorite tank mode so far in Transformers since War for Cybertron started. You can also use Studio Series if you want, but let me know what are the tank modes that you've been most you've most admired since Siege began. I would love to hear from you, and the Cream would love to hear from you too. Until next Prime, bye bye for now.